Okay, I have 11 Central Standard Time where I am, so we're going to be very respectful of your time and get started with our webinar today. Hello to everyone, and thank you for being here with us. We'd like to start by thanking the Navy Child and Youth Programs for making today's webinar, addressing educational issues or concerns, with our special subject matter expert, Terry Wooden, possible. We always welcome those professionals who work with military-connected children to our parent trainings, and I see we've got some of those in our audience today. We do think you're going to find that information and tips we present useful, but please note that MSEC's parent support webinars have been designed with parents as our target audience. Now, before we introduce ourselves, we want to share a little bit more about MSEC and its mission so you're familiar with our organization. The Military Child Education Coalition, or MSEC, is a nonprofit organization established more than 26 years ago, and our mission is to support all military-connected children by educating, advocating, and collaborating to resolve those educational challenges that are associated with our military lifestyle. In 2005, MSEC formalized support and programming for military-connected parents so that they may be empowered, informed, and proactive in supporting their children's educational journey. We strive to deliver informative and interactive webinars that address academic, social, and emotional issues associated with the military family lifestyle. Our vision at MSEC is that every military-connected child is college, work, and life ready. We do want to go over a couple of administrative announcements before we get started. At the end of today's webinar, we're going to invite you to take our survey about today's presentation. We really would appreciate it if you took that 2 to 3 minutes that it's going to require to give us some feedback. This is a key method that we use to tell our funders what we're doing, and it also lets us know where we need to make some tweaks and modify some things so that we can continue offering those very best training opportunities possible to you, our military-connected parents, and the professionals that serve those military families. You will see a chat box on your screen, and if you don't, just look around the bottom there and you can open it up. This is a place where you can ask questions and make comments during our webinar, and we're also going to be asking for some feedback from you. So please utilize this feature in Zoom because we love to get to know our audience and hear and get some feedback and learn from each other. In that chat box right now, you should see a PDF file that's titled Downloadable Resources. This contains the resources and information that relate to today's webinar and all those links and things that we're going to be mentioning and sharing. So if you download that, then you'll have all that available to you after today's webinar. Now, if you are joining us on your phone, you're not going to be able to download these resources, but if you use that chat box and send either Michelle or myself a private message, we'll email it to you and make sure that you receive that information as well. We do want to note that this webinar is being recorded. You can always view the recording later if you want to review this material or if you experience any technical difficulties during the presentation. And we'll be sharing that YouTube link later today so you'll know just where to find it. So before we get started, I want to tell you just a short little introduction about myself and Michelle Brashear that is joining us today as well. Both of us are retired military spouses, and we both live right in the state of Alabama, very close to each other, as we were just talking about earlier. But because we've been a part of that military lifestyle, we definitely understand some of these concerns that we're going to be talking about today and the challenges that go with that lifestyle. But what we really want to focus on today is our very own Terry Wooden. She is with us as our subject matter expert. Terry grew up as a military child, living in 5 states and 2 countries during her father's career with the Air Force. During that time, she attended 9 different schools, so she understands well the challenges of being a military child. After receiving her master's in education in administration and supervision, Terry worked as a teacher for 35 years. Quite a feat right there. And then she continued to serve our military families as she transitioned to the role of MSEC's Military Student Transition Consultant for her district in Vernon Parish, Louisiana. Then in September 2021, she became one of our military student consultants for MSCs. With this position, Terry was excited to be able to reach and assist even more military families across the globe. Terry, thank you for agreeing to speak about these educational issues and concerns that we face as military families. Can you begin your time with us by explaining a little bit more about your role as an MSC with MSEC?
Absolutely. And thank you, Sonia, for that very kind introduction. And I'm happy to be here today, and I'm happy to talk about my role as a military student consultant. Um, first, we consider ourselves resources. And I should say right now, there are two of us, and I'll talk more about my work partner in just a few minutes. So, exactly what is a military student consultant for MSEC? Well, first again, we are resources. We are resources, and we are able to address the many challenges that children face through their parents being connected to the military. And we can provide support during times of transition and throughout all phases of the deployment cycle. We are also educational professionals with military backgrounds. I'm a retired educator, and as Sonia said, I'm also a former military child. The other half of the MSC team is Mark Patton. Mark actually lives in North Carolina, close to Fort Bragg, and he is a retired Air Force officer, a retired educator, and a former military child. Um, Please note that on this slide, it lists active duty, National Guard, Reserve, um, ROTC cadre, recruiter, and veteran. We work with all military connected families, regardless of their status and no matter how long they have been retired or separated from the military. Um, so, what do we do here at MSEC? Um, we are here to answer most any question you might have regarding educational issues and challenges, and we are committed to answering your calls and emails within 24 hours or the next business day if it's on a weekend. We leverage our connections to installation professionals, such as school liaisons and EFMP coordinators, as well as district and state departments of education, the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission, and our partner organizations, which you will learn about a lot of those today, to provide support and assistance as families face barriers associated with the military lifestyle. Some of the critical areas we address include transition and relocation support, academics, readiness, and exceptional families. Later in this presentation, I will address how we respond to some of our most commonly recurring requests that we receive. But first of all, let's look at, first of all, I have a poll question. And my poll question, as you will see just a moment on your screen, is, have any of you needed assistance when your family was making a military related transition, such as a PCS move or a deployment? And the answer choices are yes or no. Not tough. Okay, and in our audience of three right now, we have one yes and one no. And I would definitely find that to be typical. Our occasionally we have professionals that attend our webinars, and so they may not be as likely to need assistance when they're moving because they don't move as often. But if you are military connected, you have probably moved a few times in your military career, and you may have encountered some transition or relocation support issues. So let's look at our transition and relocation support. And it includes all of these things that you see on the slide. PCS moves, which occur every few years, usually about every 2 to 3 years, and bring with them not only academic challenges, but also social and emotional challenges. Another thing that can create problems with children, military connected children, is leaving the military and retirement. These create a whole change of culture for the military child who is accustomed to the military lifestyle and all of the things that go with it, from common jargon such as a PCS move. Well, what does PCS stand for anyway? Permanent change of station. Um, uh, the term AWOL, being absent without leave, but without intent to desert, or TDY, which is simply temporary duty station. To and these are just some of the things. The jargon is one thing. Another thing is most military kids, especially if their dad's career or has been in for a while, um, they look forward to that 10th birthday because that's when they get their military ID card. And when I was a kid, it was a huge thing, and I wondered, was it still a big deal? And I saw a military friend whose child was getting his or her ID card that day. And it was like an event, almost like when you get your driver's license. So it is a culture. And when you leave that culture, sometimes it's difficult to figure out the how things go when you're not military connected in the school or in activities that you do. Another thing would be deployments, and deployments create a number of family challenges and also those emotional challenges for all involved, not just the children. Um, Moving to a new level in school, and the example of this is from elementary to middle school or from middle school to high school. And these are especially when they occur in more than one location. When I was growing up as an Air Force dependent, I didn't attend the same school 2 years in a row until fifth and sixth grade. And then later, when I was in high school, I went to 3 different high schools. So those are all. It's hard enough to change from elementary to middle school or from middle to high, and if you're doing it in different schools and different locations, it just makes it even more difficult. And then, of course, each of these has social and emotional concerns and challenges that accompany them. Now, we are going to watch a short video that showcases some of the experiences that are the reality of life as a military child.
Life as a military child can be pretty hard because just in that one move I made, I kind of found it really hard to adjust and make new friends.
My dad's from the military, and we've moved, I think, around 3 times because he serves for the Army and he travels a bunch, and we just have to keep moving around because his job tells us to.
I see a lot of helicopters up in my room.
You get to learn responsibility, resilience, just a bunch of new things, and you get to experience new places, new people, making new friends, finding people that feel like family when they're not there. It's just a big change, and I'm really proud of my mom and thank her so much for her service.
Thank you, Michelle, for playing that for us. And you notice that those children named some of both the positive and the negatives of being a military child, the realities. I really liked the last girl said something about finding friends that are like family when your family's not around. And that was definitely an experience that I had. And I think a lot of military children end up finding aunts and uncles and cousins who are not blood relatives, but they become lifelong friends. So let's talk about academics. Um, Academics can bring with it all kinds of issues. I have all of these listed on the slide. Credit transfer and placement, which might include credits in high school courses or placement in programs like special education. And it can even include kindergarten entrance guidelines because they can differ from state to state. And just like with credits and placements, state standardized testing differs somewhat from state to state and can also create challenges for students. Sometimes in these academic situations, we must reference the MIC3 compact. MIC3, that's Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission. MIC3 compact rules, and we use these to come to a solution that satisfies all parties. And a lot of times there's give and take, there's compromise. For those who are not familiar, MIC3, well, I already told you that. In 2008, the commission was formed and created a set of rules to address the key education issues that military families encounter when their children make interstate moves. All 50 states and the District of Columbia are members of the commission and therefore have agreed to abide by the compact rules. In the chat, Michelle added the website address and or we'll add that website address and a copy of the compact rules, a PDF copy. And then tutoring progress and school selections, I will discuss when I talk about recurring requests. And finally, academic activities are actually in some ways a part of a child's academic life. And they're very important to most children. And so we can even help with those when there are issues or challenges that children face as a result of moves and mobility. Okay, so let's chat for just a minute, and I'll ask you to put your answers in the chat box. Let's chat about some of the academic challenges and concerns you have experienced as a military family. So, Michelle put the question in the chat. What are some academic challenges or concerns you have experienced as a military family? And you can add a few of those if you have some. Okay, would anybody like to add something to the chat or add or speak up? Michelle?
Yeah, I was going to say our kids went from a regular 8-block, year-long schedule to a 4-block schedule, I guess you call it, where they had 4 classes in the fall and 4 in the spring. And that was a really big transition during high school. And a couple of classes had to be retaken. So
nobody likes to.
They survived, but it was not a happy time.
Okay, and I see one that Sonia has added. She added credit for high school classes taken during middle school. This is a common issue that Mark and I that Mark and I work with. We have students, very often it's Algebra 1. They take Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and then when they get to a new state, the new state doesn't want to recognize that credit because they don't give credit for classes taken during middle school, or it's not listed correctly on the transcript. And so those are some of the things that we have to try to figure out and 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 help these families get that taken care of, because it when you, like, if you have to retake a course like Michelle was saying, or when you even just have to start in a class that you know you've already taken and you really need to be in a class that's the next level, that can be very disturbing for kids. They don't like that. They don't like having to be somewhere that they know they're not supposed to be. We also had out of state tuition for a college student and proving she was a male kid. That is tough. And that is something that my partner, Mark Patton, works with a lot and can really help families with those kinds of things. He's great with all college um, questions. Another one in the chat is moving to a high school and the school not accepting all classes. We've kind of already talked about that. And then we have Rita said homeschoolers commonly navigate new state laws. Absolutely. Every state has something new and or something different. And while there are many similarities, the differences can create some pretty good hangups. And then also, Michelle put transferring schools becomes more difficult as our kids reach high school. And that is absolutely true, because then we're really dealing with all the Carnegie units and credits. And it's also a problem with friend groups and those kinds of things. So absolutely, that is the case. So let's move on to readiness. As you saw at the beginning of this webinar, our MSEC vision is that every military connected child is college, work, and life ready. And we provide support to parents and students and work to make this a reality for all military connected students. We acknowledge that approximately 38% of military connected children are between the ages of 0 and 5 years. And these early years are critical to school success. So we are here to help with early education and provide resources such as militarychildcare.com, where you can sign your child up for the child development centers. Also, another great one is Sesame Street for military families. They have a huge number of resources, not only for those preschool children, but also for their parents. And honestly, I often recommend Sesame Street for military families to families that have even elementary age kids, because even though their children may think they're way too old to be interested in Sesame Street, the topics that are mentioned on that website have lots and lots of tips for parents that could definitely be used with older children. So it's a wonderful resource. Okay, exceptional families. When we work with exceptional families, we try to educate parents about and provide resources for all categories of exceptionalities. We provide support for IEP and 504 meetings. We can connect families to the Exceptional Family Member Program on their installations, and we can provide a wealth of resources for ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, dyslexia, and other learning disabilities. And I will add to this topic again in a few minutes, because this is definitely one of our recurring topics or questions. and Michelle has added the EFMP from Military One Source, the EFMP resource into your chat box. Okay, so recurring issues and concerns. These are the things, and I won't say these are the things that we get the most questions, but they come up frequently. School transitions and school selection, military connected financial aid and scholarships for post-secondary education, special education and learning disability support, and academic concerns. And so I'm going to address each one of these separately and talk about how we deal with these. So the first one, school transitions and school selection. And on the slide, you're going to see some of the questions we commonly ask when the request for support comes from a parent who is going to PCS or move soon, and they are seeking guidance in selecting a school for their child or children. I have worked this issue a couple of times already this summer as families have been moving and they've had challenges on either end of the move, on either the sending school or the receiving school, and just a lot of things that happen with that. We like to know what type of school the military family prefers, whether it is public, private, virtual, homeschool. We have a homeschool representative here today in the webinar. All of those are important, and we need to know what your preferences are. Of course, many states are very strict in their zoning for schools, and they have I just worked a case this past week where a military family had moved and they were not able to get housing on the installation, so they took a rental, and it had a 1-year lease, and so they enrolled their child in the school that was zoned for their address. And then the house proved to be much too small for them. So when the lease expired, they moved to a new place, which was only about 10 minutes from the other rental, but it was in a different school zone. And the particular state that they're living in just absolutely does not provide waivers for much of anything. So that was one where, I just had to say, look, here's the deal. It really looks like your child is going to have to change schools, and let me know if you need resources for dealing with yet one more move. So those are some things. Where are there special considerations or concerns that will need to be addressed? And for example, if your special needs child may need to be at a school that can provide certain services such as speech and occupational therapy, or if these services are to be provided at another facility besides the school, then a lot of families want their child in a school that is as close as possible to those facilities. And then some families are concerned about whether the school offers certain music programs, sports, junior ROTC, or other extracurricular activities like 4-H club or honor societies or student government. I answered a request not too long ago, and a parent was hoping that her child could take orchestra. And they just happened to be coming to the school district where I live. And I knew that pretty likely there was not going to be orchestra anywhere. So I had to kind of lead that parent and say, well, we don't have orchestra, but we have band, and these schools have band. So, you know, that's one of the things that families deal with when they move in terms of extracurricular activities. And finally, the question on the screen is, are you familiar with the Purple Star School designation? And as parents are beginning to learn about the Purple Star School designation, they may wish for their children to be in a school that has this program. And the program ensures that the school is committed to helping its military connected students deal with the challenges brought about by frequent moves and by the military lifestyle in general. Each state that has a Purple Star School program has different criteria, but most commonly, the Purple Star schools are required to have a staff military point of contact, a web page dedicated to military families and the resources that they need, a peer-to-peer transition group that welcomes new students, and those new students are expected to be welcomed by a peer, not an adult school member. And then also, it requires that teachers in that school receive professional development that focuses on military children and the needs and challenges that they face. And it also encourages schools in many cases to have military recognition events, such as Military Family Month in November or Month of the Military Child in April. So let's talk a little bit more about Purple Star schools. Have any of you had your children attend a school designated as Purple Star? And if yes, what impacts did you notice? And you can place your answers there in the chat. And I see okay, I'm reading in the chat now. So let me go. I've missed some stuff while I was talking. Let me go back up and look at some of these questions. First of all, Sonia put that she's been hearing a lot about sports this summer and children being told they can't compete because they weren't in the school for a year. And to the best of my knowledge, Sonia, this goes directly against MIC3 because the compact says that regardless of when a child enters a school, he should be given a tryout for a sports team. Now, obviously, if the sports season has already concluded, that's not going to be an option for them. But if the season is, even if the season is happening right then, is they should still be given a tryout because they're going to be automatically eligible because they're moving into because they have moved into that school district. And even if Michelle said if tryouts have occurred prior to the student's arrival and the team rosters are full, they still should be given a tryout. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make the team, but they should be given a tryout. And then Rita says she urges parents to have their kids reach out to the coaches as soon as they know they are moving to the district before they arrive. And that is great advice. If you and many schools do have their staff on their websites and they can see sometimes what sports they coach or if they're the athletic director, so that would be possible. And I think Michelle put on here, our daughter was able to try out for band virtually. That is a great idea. And then Sonia put in response to our question about Purple Star schools, Sonia said, our schools here are Purple Star. We love the welcoming military environment in our area. You see how military friendly they are and how they are and feel, and you feel that when you enter the school. So Purple Star is a wonderful designation. More and more families are finding out about it, and so more and more schools want to get involved. So be looking, if you are moving soon, be looking for schools that are Purple Star. Okay, so now in the chat, Michelle is placing links to some of the websites I often recommend when working with PCSing families who are trying to select a new school for their children. One of the best is niche.com, which gives a comprehensive overview of the school, and it also provides information about the community, even about housing that is available, and home prices and rental prices and those kinds of things that are available. So niche.com is a great resource. There's also great schools, and then if you want to learn more about Purple Star schools, you can look at the MSEC webpage. Okay, next slide. In supporting families seeking information about using VA benefits and obtaining military-connected scholarships, my first advice to parents and students is to seek out help from my counterpart, Mark Patton. He is extremely well-versed in all things college, all things financial aid, all things veteran-related, and disability related. He is a wonderful resource, and he can guide families as they get started on that college journey, from the completion of the FAFSA, which, if you're not familiar with FAFSA, that stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. He can help them get signed up for FastWeb, which is a free scholarship search platform, and it connects students to scholarships and to financial aid and other resources. And he can provide guidance in using the post 9/11 GI Bill benefits, as well as other military or veteran related and military related financial aid. Michelle is placing in the chat box. First of all, she has placed Mark's name and his email address. She placed the web address for the FAFSA. Be very careful if you've never filled in a FAFSA before that you go to the correct website. Make sure it's .gov. If it's not .gov, it can be an imposter, and they may end up saying that you need to pay something for your services. And if you go to studentaid.com, it is absolutely free. FastWeb, she's also provided a link to the Department of Veterans Affairs and a link to the to Military OneSource that shows all kinds of benefits for college scholarships, and also the Fisher House Foundation, which keeps records of scholarships, especially for military connected spouses and children. Okay, let's talk about special education and learning disability support. We are frequently contacted by parents who have a child or children with special needs. And while Mark and I both have experience working with these children, we do rely heavily on our outside resources to help these families, because we want to give them the very best help for these situations, which are very critical. First, all military connected special needs family members should be enrolled in the EFMP, or Exceptional Family Member Program. Enrollment ensures that their needs are considered during the assignment process and that appropriate support services will be available to these families wherever they are assigned. So EFMP is critical. Another group that we love to recommend is Partners in Promise. Partners in Promise is a group made up of military families and allies that protect the rights of military children in special education and ensure that they receive equal access to education. A number of people that are involved in Partners in Promise on their staff are actual education attorneys, and so they know the laws. They can help military families navigate all aspects of special education, from the IEP and 504 plan meetings to collaborating with teachers and schools to make sure that students receive the accommodations and modifications to which they are entitled. And then there is another great resource called STOMP. STOMP is specialized training of military parents, and they offer multi-day virtual workshops, 2-day in-person events, and 90-minute webinars on a wide range of topics. I have actually attended STOMP training. It was a 2-day long process, and they covered every kind of situation regarding your special needs family members. So it is excellent. If you know there's not an in-person event close to you, you can go look at their website, and it's actually a function of pave.org, but look for STOMP, and they will show you all of the virtual ones that are going to be available in the next several months, I believe. And then finally, each state has a parent center that serves families with children who have disabilities, and links for all of these resources have now been placed in the chat. And on your slides, you're going to see the questions that Mark and I often ask when we are working with a family with a special needs family member. Let's watch a video now about one of the resources I discussed already.
All families who have children with special medical or educational needs face challenges, like finding resources, managing care, and coordinating support. Families in the military face the same challenges and more because of the unique demands of military life. Military-connected families, for example, typically move more often than their civilian counterparts in every state and all around the globe. Service members may also be away from home for training, deployments, and new assignments. And shaping up a new system of support and care with every move can take time and effort. This is where the Office of Special Needs comes in. As part of the Defense Department, OSN supports the major military branches, including Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force, by developing policy and overseeing programs like the Exceptional Family Member Program. EFMP supports military families with special medical or educational needs. OSN also provides oversight on special education services for military-connected families at Department of Defense Education Activity, or DoDEA schools. And there's much more help available, including EFMP family support on installations, military one-source special needs consultants, and robust digital tools like EFMP and Me, all for military families and the providers who support them. Want to learn more? Visit us online at militaryonesource.mil/special-needs. And thank you for helping us serve the families who serve our country.
Notice in the chat there is a link to the EFMP and me, which is a part of the Military One Source website. So you see there are all kinds of things there that are very helpful. Okay, and then finally, academic concerns. Because of frequent moves, school and location changes, academics can sometimes become a concern. For children struggling with any school subject, our partner organization, Tutor.com, provides free, live, interactive tutoring in over 150 subjects. All teachers that teach for Tutor.com are certified in their subjects, and tutoring can be scheduled at your convenience. And it is very safe because the tutor does not see your child, but he can hear your child, and your child can hear the teacher. And so they can ask questions. Like I said, it is live. I hear music. Hold on, guys. Make sure it's not something coming. There it is. It came on my computer. Okay. Academic concerns. Let's talk about, we talked about Tutor.com. For issues with placement, credit transfer, and extracurricular activities, again, the MIC3 addresses most of these, and in most cases, these issues can be resolved with guidance from the compact rules and sometimes even from the state commissioner. We often share the situation with the state commissioner, and then we are able to initiate actions necessary while including the parent and keeping him or her involved and informed. So Mark and I often are able to start talking with the commissioner about certain cases, and then the commissioner talks with the state or the school. Sometimes it's the district, and they work to help it get resolved, and the parents don't have to do a lot of that legwork. For all emotional and social challenges, Mark and I assess the needs and share possibilities for different types of counseling if needed. In schools with a high military population, there's often a military family life counselor who can also help with these concerns. In the chat, if you are comfortable, please share if you have ever used the Tutor.com platform, or a second question, if your child or you have ever consulted with a family life counselor. And in doing so, when you put these in the chat, also describe the impact that either Tutor.com or the MFLAC have had on your family. Okay, Rita says they have used Tutor.com. Great. I love Tutor.com. It is fantastic, and it offers tutoring for kids from K through college. So it is wonderful. Sonia says there's also ACT and SAT tutoring. And she said the ACT tutoring helped her son raise his score by 4 points, and it is free on Tutor.com. Michelle says, I love the ACT tutoring. So yes, Tutor.com is fantastic. It even has a function where if a child has to write an essay, they can submit it. Now they have to write it in advance, can't be last minute, people, but they write it in advance. They can submit it to Tutor.com. An English teacher will review it and make suggestions, and it's great for essays that have to be written for classwork. It's also a great resource for all those essays that they have to write for college applications. And Sonia also put on here, our local MFLAC is a wonderful resource. She is attached to the Arsenal, but will come and meet in the community, for example, at the library, the local library. So great resources. All of these are super. So finally, let me take a moment to invite you to the MSEC website and come there often. And another thing I would like you to notice when you come to the MSEC website is to explore the webinars that we have upcoming, like this one. And also visit our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel where we archive all of our webinars, and these cover a wide range of topics pertinent to military parents, no matter what stage of life they are currently experiencing. And Michelle has put those links in the chat as well. Okay, and then finally, this is our MSC slide. You can contact us at msc@militarychild.org. You can call us by dialing 254-953-1923, and you can use extension 1146. If you know you will talk directly to me, you can use extension 1148, and Mark's extension is 1150. And Michelle has placed all of those extensions and phone numbers and email addresses in the chat. You can also email us directly if you wish. Okay, now we have a few minutes left. If you have any question, Michelle says maybe one or two questions. Does anyone have a question or something that I didn't address that you'd like to know?
You can drop this in the chat if you have a question for Terry, and we'll try to get to that. Terry, one that we hear often is about student portfolios. This is a topic that comes up, and people often want to know, how do those help? Where do I start? What do I include? What are the benefits? Can you talk about that while our participants are dropping some questions for you?
Sure, I can. I can give you some ideas about a portfolio, a student portfolio. Most of the time, and I've seen these take all types of forms, from a binder to a folder, but it's going to be something that you use to put information that you feel would be helpful when you are enrolling your child in school. So one of the first things you're going to put in there are the immunization records. You're going to put report cards, test score reports from standardized testing. If they have an IEP or a 504, their most recent documents regarding that. A lot of parents include student work samples. Some parents even take the time to photocopy the table of contents from textbooks and place those in the portfolio, so that if there is a difference in what courses are called or how they're offered, sometimes a school can look at the table of contents and say, okay, yeah, this is what we teach in this course, so we can give you credit for that. Okay. Anything that is in your child's cumulative folder that the school keeps on him, you as a parent have a right to view it, to see it, and to get copies of it for your binders. I would advise that if you're going to PCS move, you contact the school and get that give them some time to photocopy that information. Don't just show up and say, hey, I want it right now. A portfolio can help with placement in courses and services, and definitely can make the school transition much smoother. You should start a school portfolio as soon as possible, but definitely before your child is set to enter school, and build them ongoing from then on. And most importantly, when you are moving, hand carry that portfolio or binder. Don't forget to leave it out when the packers come to move your house. Make sure you um, keep them separate. I know when I was growing up, my dad had a briefcase, and all of our important stuff went in that briefcase, and that briefcase traveled in his hand everywhere we went. So,
Okay, thank you for giving us a brief overview of what that looks like. If you guys are interested in learning more about portfolios on our YouTube channel, you can find webinars all about creating those, starting them, setting up. So please go check that out. We're going to share that link here in a little bit. I think we have time for one more question. One that comes up often is we've talked about all these challenges that we can face. What are the academic warning signs that I should be looking for to trigger, that parent that you need to dig a little bit deeper? There may be some challenges that your student's facing at school.
okay. And so there are all kinds, but a definite red flag is the child being reluctant to talk about schoolwork. Another is not wanting to share grades or progress, or never bringing home books or assignments. Remember the time to deal with this is sooner rather than later. Um, that's those are those are definitely some red flags when a child is very reluctant to communicate, doesn't, or gives one word answers. Sometimes the parent needs to ask questions that are going to have to be answered with more than a yes or no or a couple of words.
And that's very true. Communication, when that falters or when there's a breakdown in that, that can definitely signal some concerns. We do want to mention, and we're going to mention it again, MSEC does have an entire webinar that we're going to present on that topic of Communication 360, and that's the communication between everyone, the student, the parent, the educator, the school. So definitely watch for that coming up on September 2nd, and we're going to share that link here shortly. One other thing that we want to share with you before we jump into our closing slides is our Frances Hesselbein Leadership Camp Scholarship is officially open. Michelle's going to drop that link in the chat box for you. So Terry had mentioned our Purple Star schools. If you are at a school that is a Purple Star school, and if your student is participating in S2S, they are eligible to apply for this leadership camp that's funded by MSEC. And it is an amazing opportunity. It happens twice a year, once at the Air Force Academy. The one coming up in October is at West Point, and 10 students from across the country, and actually internationally, because we have S2S programs internationally. Only 10 students are selected to attend this camp, and it is a fantastic opportunity for them to grow and learn and take all that knowledge back to their school. So it's for our sophomores and our seniors that are involved in S2S. So please take a look at that link and go ahead and check that out. And they do have to be a member of S2S to apply and participate. So definitely take a look at that. Terry, we want to say thank you for your, go ahead. Did you have something to comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to also say that for Frances Hesselbein, MSEC pays almost entirely all of the expenses. There's the expenses that the student or parents have to pay is negligible. And I see a question in the chat: are homeschooling students eligible? It's going to depend on whether or not your child can participate as a homeschool student in the S2S chapter on one of the public schools or private schools in your area. A lot of states do allow homeschool students to participate in extracurriculars at a school near them. And if your child is able to participate in S2S on a campus close to you, then it might be possible.
Okay, thank you for that. And thank you for your time today, Terry, and sharing all your knowledge with our military families. We really appreciate you. If we did not get to your question today, if you weren't comfortable asking it in this environment, please reach out to Mark and Terry at msc@militarychild.org, and they'll be sure to get back to you and assist with any challenges you and your family may be facing. Now, we did mention that survey at the beginning, so we want to thank you for joining us today and invite you to take our survey for today's webinar. You can do that by clicking on the survey link in your chat box. We also have a QR code on our slide. You can scan this to connect quickly to our survey. Once the link pops up, click on webinar survey and type in that 4-digit webinar number that you see on your screen, 7125. This will only take a few minutes, and we do really appreciate your feedback. We do look at this information that you provide, and we provide it to our funders. So please give us some feedback on what we presented today. Don't forget to hit submit at the end of the survey so we actually see your responses. Now, if you don't fill it out now, if you just don't have time following this webinar, you're going to receive an email invitation to take that. The Wellbeing Toolkit was developed for parents, school professionals, behavioral mental health professionals, and community leaders, and this is available to everyone on our website. It's full of resources for all aspects of the military-connected children's well-being. So please take a look at it on our website and feel free to share it with others, military or not. It's there and it's available, and it's a wealth of wonderful resources that you can use. If you did miss one of our previous webinars, or especially if you'd like to share this session, and we've mentioned some others that you can find on our YouTube channel, these can be found at our website at militarychild.org and on YouTube, and we're dropping those links in your chat box. You also have those on your resource, which I'm going to go ahead and drop in your chat box again right now so that you have that. We are excited to announce, along with our regular webinars, we're presenting webinars specifically for our Spanish-speaking military community. Please join Mariela and Yasmina at the end of each month for these special webinar presentations funded by HEB. As with the rest of our webinars, they begin at noon Eastern Standard Time, and you can see the link to register for the next one in your chat box. Now, if you're interested in obtaining a certificate of completion after this live presentation today, please complete the online survey and then contact research@militarychild.org, and they'll get you taken care of. We are excited to offer 2 regional global training summits this year. Please join us in either Atlanta, Georgia on September 22nd or in Austin, Texas on September 26th. Registration is open. You can click that link in your chat box for more details. Please join us for our upcoming webinars. We've got Keys to Academic Success on August 27th, and then on Tuesday, September 2nd, that one I mentioned a little earlier, Communication 360 for Military Families. You can find those registration links in your chat box, and remember that all our webinars do start at noon Eastern Standard Time. We would like to give a special thanks to the Navy Child and Youth Program for making today's webinar possible, and of course, again, to Terry for joining us today as our subject matter expert. Thank you to all of you that participated for your interest and that participation. We are going to stay on here for a few more minutes. If you have any questions for us or for Terry, you can feel free to stick around for a few minutes and go ahead and type those in the chat box. Otherwise, you're free to log out. But thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. Have a great day.